Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the call tonight. Again, my name is Yi Shen. I'm the Asian liaison for Montgomery County. I am your host tonight. I'm not Diane. I apologize. I'm using her account, but my camera's not working, so you're stuck with her picture and my voice. Let me introduce our speakers tonight. Everyone knows the county executive, Marc Elrich. We have Daniel Caroma, who is the business liaison for Montgomery County. We also have Heather Bruskin, the executive director for the Montgomery County Food Council. We have Chief Marcus Jones from Montgomery County Police Department. And we hope to have a good conversation tonight for the community, and it will be recorded and uploaded for those of the community members who cannot make the meeting tonight. So thank you again for being here. And without further ado, I turn over to the county executive.
Okay, how's everybody doing? Everybody fine? As good as can be?
Good.
So I want to welcome you to our, this is our second meeting, and the first one we've tried to do in the video world. And I actually like this pretty much. I think it's a good way for a lot of people to get together who otherwise couldn't all show up in the same place, even in the normal world. So I'm glad that everybody was able to come here and show up tonight. And it's a good chance for us to have a little dialogue about what's happening. As always, you know, I was planning a trip to China this spring, and we were going to go and look at, you know, trade opportunities and talk with people in the bio industry. And I'm really, you know, sad that we're not going to be able to do that this spring. And I hope things are normal enough next year that we can actually do it next year. But I was looking forward to it, and was very excited about the opportunity to meet people over there and work on, you know, further developing our ties. I don't have to tell you that you all, you know, are major contributors to life in Montgomery County, and that, you know, your presence in education and in the sciences and academia, basically all walks of life and businesses, both large and small, make this county richer. And I really do appreciate your, you know, ongoing work that you do with all of us. And I've appreciated my opportunity to work with you over the last year and some year and a couple of months, because it's educated me. And I think we've found opportunities where there's more opportunity to cooperate and work together with folks in the Asian community. I have a proclamation that I was going to give you. Instead of giving you the proclamation, I'm going to read you the proclamation. This is the proclamation I would have given you. I don't know if you can see this. Much better proclamation. You doing that, or am I doing that? He's doing that. Okay.
I'm doing that. I'm sharing it for everybody.
Okay. So the proclamation says, whereas Montgomery County is host or home to a multitude of Asian cultures, languages, and traditions, and whereas the first Asian Pacific American community is now one of the fastest growing communities in Montgomery County, representing over 15% of the total population, and has made innumerable contributions to the economic, cultural, and civic growth of Montgomery County. And whereas Asian Pacific American Heritage Month was first celebrated in May 1990 to commemorate the arrival of the first Japanese immigrants in the United States in May of 1843, and to honor the many contributions of Asian Americans throughout our nation's history. Asian Pacific Americans continue to make positive and lasting contributions to every facet of society in our county. Now, therefore, do I, Marc, which is County Executive, do hereby proclaim May 2020 as Asian Pacific Heritage Month in Montgomery County. I encourage our residents to join me in recognizing and celebrating the contributions of Asian Pacific American community. And just thank you all, and I look forward to giving this proclamation live and in person next year when we're all able to get together again. So I guess I'll tell you a lot of stuff you probably know. That the county is still shut down under COVID. I know that the governor is going to announce some changes, but the fact is that he said today in a meeting I was on that the county will be allowed to continue to follow what it thinks is the best and safest path for Montgomery County. And based on the number of cases we have, the number of fatalities we have, and the fact that we really don't have contact tracing where we need it to be, we're going to continue pretty much unchanged until we can really bring the case numbers down. Right now, we've got well over 7,000 cases and about in the mid 300s, 350 something deaths, I believe. And we really need to turn the corner on this. I could say, it's definitely not continuing to climb. At least it hasn't been rapidly climbing for the last better part of a week almost, but it's still not where we need it to be. So we're going to continue to do the work we can do to make sure that all of you can stay safe. I know the residents have been dealing with a lot. I don't think anybody likes what we're going through, and I don't want anybody to think that I enjoy this lockdown or that this is a great opportunity. It's really hard not to see your friends. It's hard not to invite people out to dinner or go to somebody's house when you want to see them. It's hard not to go to the movies. Those of you who know me know I'm a pretty big music fan. Well, I've got tickets that I'll never get to use to concerts that will never be held. And that's hard because I was looking forward to, something I really enjoy, which is good music. Everybody's had to give up a lot. I want to especially thank our first responders, the fire and police, the social workers, all those folks who are out there in the front lines, the people who are cafeteria workers and volunteers who are putting out food to tens of thousands of children a week. There are a lot of people in Montgomery County. They're still driving buses. We're still dealing with cases as they come into the county. There are people who are working on, getting money out through the EARP program, which goes to individuals. So there's just a lot happening, and I know how hard it's been for everybody, but I want to thank the people who are continuing to provide services and make things as normal-ish as we're going to be able to make them. I know we've received a lot of questions from the community about this crisis, and that's why we're here tonight to try to answer them. And if we can't answer everything, we can get them recorded and we can get you answers going forward. We have the public health emergency grants, which are going out to businesses. We continue to put out money. The council changed its mind, and so we're going to give out grants of $10,000, but it will let us reach more people. So about 2,500 businesses, hopefully a few more, will be able to get $10,000 grants. And we continue to work at the state level to try to get more state money into the county, and we're not going to stop. The EARP fund, as I mentioned before, is a $10 million emergency assistance relief payment program, and we are getting that money out. I think we're in the second phase and soon to do the third phase of that. We have food programs all over the county. I know Heather's here from the Food Council, but we are absolutely committed to providing food for people who do not have access to food. And we're providing some rent support to people who have lost jobs and are unable to get unemployment. I continue to encourage people, if you've got a Social Security card and you've lost a job, to please go apply for unemployment. The benefits are very generous this year. They've added $600 to the weekly payment. And to put that in context, the maximum weekly payment in Maryland up until this started was $430, and the average was $385. The additional $600 means that most people will be seeing checks of almost $1,000 or slightly more. So this is enough to cover rents. It's enough to cover a lot of people's bills. This is a weekly check. It's good till the end of July, and hopefully by the end of July, things will begin to reopen again. I want to thank Daniel Coroma from the business office who's here, and he can give more details later on it's called the FEG program, but that's the grants to businesses, and the ERP program, which is the grants to individuals. We're also going to hear from Heather Bruskin, who's the executive director of the Food Council, and we have Marcus Jones here, our chief of police, to give you additional information. And I know he's going to talk about particularly the safety concerns in the community. I share with you my concern that some people have irrationally and unfairly targeted the Asian community in relation to this virus. It's irresponsible. It's certainly not the Montgomery County tradition, and Montgomery County is not going to be part of that. And we're going to make sure that we protect people from harassment and that we keep people safe here, everybody. So with that, I'll turn it back to Yi.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you please repeat it?
I wasn't talking to you, Siri.
I sound a lot like Siri. It's okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. I will turn it over to Daniel Coroma to talk about the PAGG program and the EARP program.
And thank you, County Executive, for your leadership. If you can just share the dashboard, because most of what the County Executive have said is what we're doing currently. And let me first of all wish everyone a happy Asian Pacific Heritage Month. Also would like to thank all of the Asian nonprofits and the Chamber of Commerce who helped us tremendously to reach many in the community in order for them to apply for the Public Health Emergency Grant Program. So as many of you are aware, we did a specific webinar in Mandarin, and we were really happy. Over 800 small businesses and nonprofits participated. If you can scroll down, the dashboard is, yes, a little bit further down. There you go. So this is where we are right now. As the County Executive said, the goal is to reach as many small businesses and nonprofits. And so far, we've approved and also depositing funds into over 1,800 businesses and nonprofits. And for many of you, if you do get any questions about status, we are looking to work as fast as possible. And because of the help of the County Executive, we were able to triple the numbers of reviewers. And so the capacity behind now to make sure you hear from us will be very soon. But again, this is the dashboard that we have in terms of status, the entire program status. So not to go too much into it because it's a public site and Yi would make it available to everyone. You can just go to the website and you'll be able to get the details from that site. So if anything else happens, definitely we will communicate with you. We have many of the Asian nonprofits and the Chamber who they are part of our business resource partner list. So as we get any information to share with everyone, we will make sure that they pass it along. And then the second thing I want to talk about is the emergency assistance relief payment, which the County Executive also touched on, and that is still ongoing as County Executive alluded to. The goal is that if through the nonprofits, if you know of any family or individual that have challenges in terms of payments, please make sure you refer them to us. So if you have that, there you go. You can, so the eligibility criteria is there on the website. And then also, if you scroll down a little bit, it will tell you in terms of individuals, single individuals will get up to $500 in benefits, and families with children will get up to $1,000. The goal is that those who did not get the federal, relief will be eligible for this program. So please, if you know individuals that are maybe struggling, and we know many of you within the nonprofit community or within the faith community, you will hear this before the county government. So we're asking that you refer them to us and HHS will basically do all the process in the back end, and then those who are eligible will be granted the funds. So I will stop there for now, and then I'll be around to answer questions where I will provide details. Yi, back to you.
Sorry, I'm trying to fidget with the controls. Thank you so much, Daniel. Let me now go to Ms. Heather Bruskin of the Montgomery County Food Council. Oh, oops. Sorry.
Thanks so much, Yi, for the opportunity to be a part of this discussion today. And thank you to the county executive for your tremendous leadership throughout this crisis, and to everybody in our community who has played a critical role in bringing food to our residents over the past few months. So my name is Heather Bruskin. I'm the executive director of the Montgomery County Food Council. We're a community-based nonprofit, and we serve as a connecting mechanism as well as an information sharing resource for government agencies, nonprofits, residents, and businesses around food system issues. And so throughout the COVID-19 response, we've been coordinating in partnership with our county government, the many different heroic initiatives happening throughout our communities to bring food to all of our residents. And so as more and more people have become unemployed or ill at home and unable to access food in usual ways, the need for food and meals has grown exponentially throughout our county. In normal times, we have 60,000 residents who are at risk for food insecurity, and the estimates are that in the coming months and potentially years, we'll have an up to a 50% sustained increase in food insecurity, meaning residents who have insufficient and inconsistent access to safe, nutritious, culturally appropriate food. So luckily, we have a strong network of 70 food assistance providers, and so these include many faith communities and other community organizations who've been quickly adapting their services to meet community needs, distribute meals, and provide packaged foods at a variety of pickup sites. And so some information on where residents can find food access resources. If you go to the Food Council's website, which is www.mocofoodcouncil.org, and I can put some of these links in the chat afterward, we have a food assistance resource map, and that's searchable by zip code or the types of food that that you're looking for, and you can put in that information, and then it will share where the sites are that are most convenient to you. And it also includes information on language access and other resources. And I just want to share too that calling 311 for those who don't have web access is a way to get support, and also language appropriate support in using that resource map. There is a task force that's been convened by the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, and this task force has partnered with the Chinese Culture and Community Service Center to provide Chinese language support, specifically in navigating all the food resources. And actually there's a really nice long page that's been put together of lots of food assistance tools. And if you go to the county's main website, you'll see it in a banner right across the top that says COVID-19 food resources. And the Asian American Health Initiative and the Gilchrist Center are also great places to go for support. I want to note quickly that just today, in partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services, the County Council, and the County Executive, $1.2 million in food security grants were allocated to 38 organizations across the county, and that includes $30,000 that was appropriated by County Council last week, specifically for culturally appropriate food, in partnership with local ethnic grocers. So the goal is for these food assistance providers to be able to obtain foods that are familiar and match the cultural traditions of the residents who are looking for that food assistance. And the task force has also been partnering with World Central Kitchen and local restaurants to increase access of culturally appropriate meals for delivery and for distribution. So just a couple other quick notes. Farmers markets are still open, and through the end of May, Crossroads Community Food Network, so their farmers market in the Long Branch area, will be doubling the value of SNAP for market purchases through the end of this month. And many grocery stores are adapting their models. And although SNAP is not allowed by the USDA to be used in Maryland right now for online purchases, a lot of grocery store retailers are adapting their models so that you can either call or use your EBT card if you're looking for curbside pickup or online delivery. So I have lots of other resources to share. I don't want to take too much of my time, but I know that we'll get to a lot of this in the Q&A as well. But there's lots of valuable resources that are out there, and the Food Council is there to be a partner in making sure that as many of these important initiatives that are happening are as connected as possible.
Thank you so much, Heather. Let me turn now over to Chief Jones. Since security is a recurring concern for our community, we invited Chief Jones back for an update. Chief Jones?
So good evening, and thank you to the county executive and our other panelists on this very important discussion. I am here with an update in regards to dealing with the issues surrounding our Asian community and the COVID crisis. As many of you know, that we've had, when I say we, across the United States, there have been several reports of hate crimes that have been against the Asian community, particularly as it relates to the virus. That people have made false accusations as a result to this being a Chinese virus, and that the Chinese community is largely responsible for what has occurred. We know that to be true, to be false, and so therefore we have had to work diligently to monitor these events and really work with our community to gain any information. So the update has been, there's good news and there's bad news. So the good news is, first of all, I guess to a degree, we have not received any complaints of incidents of hate crimes or bias incidents in response to the community regarding these events. But I do have a little bit of, when I say there's bad news, I've had some disappointment when I'm hearing sort of sidebar conversations that say that there are people who are maybe involved in these bias incidents or maybe even the hate crimes that are targeting certain groups in the Asian community, but those aren't being reported to the police department. This is not uncommon across the United States. As I've talked to several of my fellow chiefs of police in other parts of the country that are also experiencing this, and we understand that there may be somewhat of a disconnect of reporting these events, but I would suggest to the community and highly encourage them to contact us should any of these events occur, because we want to be able to track these cases, and we also want to look into the individuals who are committing these either crimes or even the incidents, even though we may not be able to arrest them, but we can monitor these individuals and their biased and bigoted behavior. So we really encourage folks to report, to contact. If it's not an emergency, we encourage you to contact the emergency number at 301-279-8000. Again, the number is 301-279-8000 to report those events. But I would also suggest that if it is an emergency, there are threats, we'd encourage you to call 911. And what we would also not encourage is for those individuals to try to take these matters into their own hands, and to again to try to provide some sort of interference in a way that they would engage in dealing with these individuals. We would encourage you to actually to call us and allow us to intervene and to address these issues, as we know that there have been cases that have sometimes turned deadly or in fact caused great harm. So I will stop there, and if anybody has questions, I'll be around so to be able to answer those questions. But again, we encourage people to call police when absolutely necessary. So thank you, Yi.
Thank you so much, Chief. I do have a quick question or concern. I read this maybe about 5 years ago where criminals in more like West Coast, California area, they're attacking Asian seniors because they know that Asian seniors carry a lot of cash on them and may not necessarily go to the bank. With all these hate incidents, should we start warning seniors not to carry so much cash on them?
Well, I think that's always a good piece of advice, even in somewhat normal times. I would suggest that folks be very cautious about carrying large amounts of cash, and be very cautious when they do that. And if they can avoid doing that, I would suggest that yes, they not do that. Particularly, we have not seen that trend here in Maryland or in Montgomery County, but we never want to see that begin. And we always want people to be always cautious and careful as they go about doing their everyday business each and every day.
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to unmute all the panelists and go to the questions that were pre-submitted. So first question is for food security. Let me unmute. Hold on, I got to unmute you. I'm sorry. Ms. Ruskin, how can we nonprofit organization help the county in serving the residents during this pandemic?
Yeah, that's an important question because there's certainly a role for every resident to play. And so for nonprofit organizations and community groups and neighborhood associations, some particular steps that you can take are increasing awareness of the resources that are available. So serving as a referral mechanism and resource in your own community. But we also have the Food Council hosts every Monday a food security update. And so that's from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And we bring together close to 150 food assistance providers and other community partners where we share an update, a comprehensive update on all the different resources that are available, from MCPS meal sites to the senior nutrition program and all of our different provider distribution sites. And then we also talk about ways that the community can get involved. So that's one opportunity, and I will put a link to that in the chat box in just a moment. There's also a lot of opportunity for advocacy, and community voices are very important in communicating, particularly to the federal government, that some of the waivers that have been put in place for programs like extending SNAP benefits or allowing us to have more school meal distribution sites, those are currently set to expire for a number of them in May. And so if you connect with the Food Council or follow some of our social media, we'll be sharing information about how community voices can be used to emphasize to our elected officials that those need to continue as people continue to feel the economic impacts of this crisis. We also have a specific request from our task force that, as we mentioned before, CCACC is providing referral support to food assistance resources for Chinese-speaking residents, but they're looking for additional partners to serve as contacts, especially Vietnamese and Korean-speaking callers. So they're creating as many language pathways as possible. Certainly 311 is a good resource, but if there can be partnerships throughout our county's communities to provide language-appropriate assistance, that will be very valuable in getting people connected to the resources that are available. And the task force is also always looking for volunteers. And so there are a number of different groups that are working on different components, from communications to the planning group, which is really connecting lots of different available resources with the needs and the service gaps that we see in the community. But if there are needs that you see and there are residents or communities or housing locations that need support, please reach out to me and we'll make sure to get connected, because there are definitely going to be communities and neighborhoods that are not getting the support that is required. And so we want to make sure to step in and connect those dots as quickly as possible.
Great, thank you. The next question we have is also for you. Is there a Monday through Friday meal being extended to children in need, and how is it distributed?
Yes. So MCPS is operating 51 meal sites currently. And so they're open on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 to 1. So they're closed Thursdays, but on Wednesday, they're offering double supplies. And so anybody 18 and under can go, no questions asked, to any of these sites. The children do not have to be present, and they can pick up 3 meals. And so these are 51 meal sites, again, that are being operated. And I'll put in the chat box the link to all of those sites. There are also a number of food assistance providers, so Women Who Care Ministries, Manna Food Center, Kids in Need Distributor, and Up to Us Foundation, and they're providing weekend bag distributions. So these are supplemental grocery packs for families, and there are also listed on the MCPS site. So those are additional places where families can go and get food. And then obviously a lot of our food assistance providers serve our families' needs as well.
Thank you so much. The next 3 questions are kind of lumped in together. They're similar. So the question is, are there programs in place to support the unique cultural food needs of Asian immigrant communities? That's number 1. Number 2, county is providing 7 frozen meals per senior each week. Most of the food is Western food, and Chinese seniors are used to having Chinese food. Can we have local businesses or restaurants arrange some Chinese food, 5 frozen meals, and distribute or have seniors pick up at certain restaurants? Is that something that's possible? In the alternative, can the county or the government or food council provide frozen Asian food instead?
Mm-hmm. So so just to recap, the senior nutrition program. So the senior nutrition program used to operate the congregate meal sites, but obviously with social distancing, having lots of people together, having meals together is not a safe thing to do. And so they've transitioned their program to a grab and go format. So any eligible person who's 60 or over has the option to pick up 7 frozen meals per week at any of the rec centers. And then there also can be coordinated delivery if they're not able to get to one of those rec centers or have somebody go for them. And so just wanted to make sure that people are aware of that resource. And you can call 240-777-3000 to get connected to that resource. But it is true that the congregate meal sites had a variety of cultural traditions reflected in the meals that were being served. And some of that has shifted with the transition to the grab and go meals. And so there is an effort to develop partnerships with local restaurants to provide more culturally appropriate meals through that program. And so that's something that is currently in development and is also something that, as I mentioned before, World Central Kitchen is working with the task force because their goal is to create relationships with the local restaurants. And so rather than creating separate meal preparation sites, how can we work with our local small businesses to hopefully retain some jobs and provide some economic opportunities while still providing culturally appropriate foods to residents? And so that is something that is designated in the response strategy that the task force released just last week. And so that should be rolled out in the next couple of weeks as funds are just distributed. But I also just wanted to re-mention as well the $300,000 that was distributed to nonprofits today for culturally appropriate food. And so a number of those were to nonprofits that serve Asian communities in particular. And so I hope that there will be some additional resources of culturally appropriate food coming to residents through those programs as well.
Thank you so much. Before I move on to the next question, I know we have questions in the chat group. If we have time in the end, when we get through all these questions, I will make sure we ask these questions. If not, I'll save the questions and then forward it to our speakers and get you the answer afterwards. Daniel, let me unmute you real quick. Would the county provide grants for nonprofits that provide direct services for specific ethnic groups and with smaller budgets, i.e. budgets that cannot compete with larger Pan-Asian American organizations?
I know the county executive and the county council has a community grant program, so maybe I can defer to county executive if you'd like to say something about the community grant program that you have, sir.
I think the community grant program is is subscribed or largely subscribed right now. So we'd have to think about what else, and this is an ongoing discussion with the council, is where else to put out some money. We've had requests from other organizations that are small and in the community that need some kind of support. So it would be helpful if you'd just let us know what you need. And is this a matter of staying alive, or is it a matter of staying alive as an organization, I mean, or a matter of needing to expand services or wanting to expand services? I don't have an easy answer for that.
Yeah. And so that would be my answer as well. Just if, as a follow-up, you can provide my email address, and if there's anything specific within the framework that the county executive just stated, I would make sure that I get it to him.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question: can a community children's choir apply for, for example, the PHEG or the EARP?
So the Public Emergency Grant Program deadline was, I believe, a week ago, and we're now trying to make sure that we not only determine eligibility, but also making decision and deposit those funds into the business and the nonprofit account. So no one can apply right now for that program; it's closed. For the EARP, that's an individual program. So those who are eligible, please share the website, and they could go to that website, or I believe they could also go through the nonprofits as well. So some of the Asian nonprofits are participating.
Thank you. So one other question for you, which is, does the county offer help to file for unemployment? The application is complicated for someone who cannot read, and if they fill out the form wrong, they can get denied. Ultimately, this is a state issue. However, it has far-reaching consequences in the county as well. So
that's a good question. I know we are not in the business group, but I agree that, first of all, we want people to file for unemployment. The county executive have been saying it multiple times. And I know also that there's a lot of challenge, that the state is also facing with the unemployment system that was just built, especially for independent contractors, gig workers, and sole proprietors. I think the site crashed when it launched. But to answer the question specifically, no, within the business group, no, we're not offering any assistance to apply for unemployment.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I have a question for Chief Jones. I just saw 3 officers checking with 2 motorcycle riders on the street. All 5 of them did not wear face masks. Police officers need protection from coronavirus as well. Does the county provide face masks to all our precious first responders?
So yes, our officers are provided with a face mask. Although it is not mandatory, we have highly encouraged our officers to wear their mask at all times when they're dealing with the public. We're still working with some other issues with our with the union for our work requirements. But as I've stated, we highly encourage our officers who do a variety of different functions to wear their mask whenever possible, and then mostly when they are working and again dealing with the public.
Thank you, sir. And then the rest of these questions. Oh, I'm sorry, County Exec.
Yeah, I was looking up, I got an email from the state late this afternoon. I'm going to put a number in here, or an address in here. It's for the support line for the state unemployment. And it says to include your full name, complete address, phone number, email address, and the last 4 digits of your social security number. I'm going to type this in because this is on my, well, maybe it's on my computer and I can copy it over there. Let me see if I can find it, copy it into the chat box so everybody will have access to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. While the county executive is doing that, there are more questions that are more general. and it's open to all panelists if you want to chime in. I'll take the first one. How do you engage community organizations like CCACC during this pandemic? And as the Montgomery County Food Council has already stated, the Food Council has been getting assistance with CCACC. Since the start of the pandemic, community organizations like the Chinese Culture and Community Service Center, CCACC, Coordination Council of Chinese American Association, CCCAA, Vietnamese American Association, the VAS, Vietnamese American Services, VAS, the Korean Community Service Center of Greater Washington, which is the KCSCGW, and the Association of Vietnamese Americans, the AVA. They've been getting regular updates from our offices, and they have been collaborating with multiple county agencies to ensure the community get the services they need. So that's the answer for the first question. If anyone else wanted to chime in, please feel free.
So definitely, I would like to give a shout out to the CCACC. Not only they hosted a Mandarin-only webinar when we were doing the Public Health Emergency Grant Program webinars, but also recently, actually, we were having challenges. One of our reviewers was having challenges communicate with one of the applicants, and I reached out to CCACC. Li Feng was able to intervene, where she translated what the reviewer was trying to communicate to the applicant. And so thank you so much for the work that all the nonprofits have been doing, working with us.
And the Vietnamese American Services has been donating handmade masks, and they're also helping the county translate documents. So, you know, we can help from all the community organizations. The next question has to do with MCPS. Have the children in MCPS been learning virtually at all school levels? And how are high school students experiencing 2020 graduation? I think this one goes to the county exec.
I think all the schools are going to do their own graduation thing because there's not going to be any graduation events. Kids will graduate before they allow large gatherings. I'm pretty sure of that. So people should be in contact with their local school, their high school, and ask the high school how particularly they plan on doing their virtual graduations. But I think they're going to be virtual.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question we have, I think this is also for the county exec. Is there a list of stores that will be opening, like Target, Macy's, etc.? Restaurant dining is still not permitted, question mark. Are nail salons permitted to open, question mark?
Nail salons are not permitted to open, and restaurants are not permitted to open. Anything where you have close contact between a fair number of people, they're not opening.
But takeout is okay, correct, sir?
You can take out, you can order it for delivery. You just can't, you can't go in and sit down in the restaurant.
Okay.
Even outdoor seating.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. To what extent could the county's Department of Corrections make hand sanitizer and sell to nonprofits and county agencies, as it's being done by the Maryland State Department of Corrections? Chief Jones?
I am not familiar with what the functions of the employees or the inmates at corrections, or if they have their capabilities. That would have to be a question that's answered by our corrections director, Angela Talley.
Okay, I can email and get the answer and send it to the community.
Right, Angela will be well equipped to answer that.
Sure, thank you, sir. What outreach initiative is the county undertaking for the South Asian community in the county? So we've been sending out information to South Asian religious organizations and community organizations, but we would like to hear from you. What needs are you seeing, and what would you like to see from the county? You know, if you have any needs in your community, please feel free to email me so that we can address it. I think everybody has my email address. If not, I'll send the email address back out to everyone that's on this call. Next question, how can the community help the county officials do a more effective outreach? And this is more, we want the community to continue to partner with the county agencies to do outreach and distribute information, because the community organizations are there to fill the gap where we're missing sending out information. So continue to work with us, continue to partner with us. What are your thoughts on using various cultural organizations to make videos with community service messages targeted at various ethnic communities? And I spoke to Diane, I spoke to Ken. We want the videos from the community with community service messages. We can supply the information for you, and you can make it in languages that your community is familiar with, and we'll just post it after you guys, after it's done. So please contact me, we can work something out. Next question, what efforts are being made to ensure that Montgomery County's very diverse Asian American community has access to culturally sensitive and language appropriate information, support, and services? If I could take this one as well. The county's internal language translation unit, which is headed by Ken Hartman, who is on the call with us today, has been working nonstop to provide accurate translations for the community. Instead of relying on Google Translate, which is prone to many, many errors, the team has translated materials for our COVID-19 website that are never changing, the ones that are evergreen. And they continue to translate hundreds of documents every week for different agencies and departments for the top 7 languages spoken in the county. So the county is working to get language and culturally sensitive information out to the community, but the team is fairly small. So it's a group of I'm not sure how many. If you could type in the number, but a small group just translating mountains of information every day. So it's nonstop. So thank you, Ken, and the county's internal translation team. Next question, are there mutual aid networks that the county is supporting? And if not, how can it be supporting these networks to reach the hardest hit and hardest to reach? And I think Ms. Bruskin mentioned earlier that there's a lot of outreach to nonprofit community organizations to work together. For example, the Food Council is giving a grant to nonprofits that work with them to ensure that food gets to the hardest to reach population in our community. Ms. Bruskin, did you want to expand on that a little bit?
Sure, I would just say that there are, I would say, I don't know the percentage of residents, right, but because it's a little bit difficult to guess, but a large percentage of residents who are unsure of where to, or are looking for food assistance, know where to go to get that support. But there's also a reasonable percentage of residents, especially those who are impacted by the current crisis and maybe had not been in situations where they were food insecure before and find themselves in that place for the first time or for the first time in a long time, and aren't sure where to go. And so that's why it's really important that as many community organizations and residents can be aware of the services that are available, so that they can connect their neighbors and their family members and in their communities to those services, and then also highlight those, like I mentioned before, gaps in services to the county and the county's task force and the Food Council, so we can connect those dots, because we can create as many structures and resources as possible at the county level. But if they're not getting to all the residents, then we need everybody's help to build that network of communication and resource referral. So I think that's also important, because the challenges that we're hearing related to food, for all the emails that we're getting for folks who are asking, where can I find meals? Where can I get help with groceries? They're also asking for rent assistance and for diapers and for medicine. And so we have been working as much as we can across sectors to build relationships to get people all the resources that they need at once. But we need the help of neighborhood partners and community members to get the word out so that we can get everybody connected to those conversations. So,
thank you so much. The next question is, since March, many local Asian community organizations have raised a lot of money, purchased large quantities of masks and PPE through various channels, and donated to many local hospitals, clinics, nursing homes, first responder facilities. As far as I know, more are on the way. So the question is, what is the current mask/PPE inventory status of our medical or senior care facilities? Could the county provide a list of the facilities where the donated masks, PPE are most needed or can be best utilized? And what other things other things can the Asian American community members potentially do to help? County Exec, would you like to take that one?
I think that the answer to that one is people should get in touch with Earl Stoddard or Travis Scales, but most likely Earl, who's handling the supplies and where supplies go to. So he would be the person he's the emergency management director. He's the director of Homeland Security, actually, and that would be the way that you would get access into the. He could tell you who's which clinics or which groups need the most help, or he'd be the one that would be able to find out. But I'm thinking he's the best person for that of all the people that we would possibly have for this.
Okay, and you can everyone on the call can definitely email me. I could forward your email to Earl Stoddard. County Exec, what other things would you like to see from the Asian American community that they can help with? What can they help with potentially?
So we're going to be looking for volunteers to work on contact tracing. And so obviously this would be a great place to have people who had language skills. Contact tracing is when we find somebody who tests positive, and then we want to find out who they've had contact with so we can make sure those people aren't sick. Hopefully with the new availability of testing, we'll actually be testing people who have had contact with COVID patients. This is where language would be critically important for us. And I don't know if we're going to get that breadth of language from the volunteers we have already and the 2 schools we're pulling from. So again, there's a place to volunteer, and this would be a really useful place to provide volunteer services. There are, and Heather could talk about this, all these food groups that could use volunteer support. I was up in Germantown yesterday and arrived at the end of one of the sessions they had where they were handing out food, and volunteers are what makes this happen. And they also do house calls. And it would probably be helpful again to have some language competent people who are available to provide services to homes with Chinese speakers, Vietnamese speakers, or Korean speakers. So those are just a couple of places I can think where that would continue to be useful, if that's a help.
Thank you, sir.
I also found something else out. When I was on the web looking at the Maryland unemployment site. So if you go to the top of the page of the Maryland unemployment site, they have a translate button, and they can translate the page into both simplified Chinese and standard Chinese. I have no idea what the difference is between the two, but apparently there's a difference. So you can turn that website into a site that automatically translates instructions. Thank you, Yi. And it translates into one of those languages, and it translates into Korean and Vietnamese and a whole bunch of languages, over 100 languages, I think.
It takes a minute, and
Yeah.
Google Translate is not perfect, but it kind of gets you to the right direction. And
It's a start.
yes, sir.
And we can try to figure out, we can follow up, because I've been searching the website since that question came up, and I can't find any reference to non-English speakers anywhere. I might be missing it, but it's not obvious.
Yeah, it's not. But I could follow up, definitely.
Okay.
One final question. I see our time is almost up, but I think this is an important question. And again, if we don't get to all the questions in the chat, we will answer them and then email all the participants today. The question is, after COVID-19 is over, the moratorium on evictions and collections will be over. Will there be mass evictions around the county?
I hope not. I hope that the landlords realize that, A, they're not going to get the rent. And if they evict the person, they're still not going to get the rent. And then they're going to have to rent out units, which may be a lot of units out there that people need or will be renting because they've just done a lot of evictions. So I'm not sure that it's in their best interest to go ahead and evict people. It may be better just to acknowledge the loss of income, and they should be applying for state assistance in something like this. I talked with the governor about this today. He acknowledges this is a problem. It's a problem that really needs to be solved on the federal level. We're going to continue. I've been raising it with our senators and congressmen that they should include in the relief package, particularly this next relief package, relief for renters or relief for property owners so they can afford to tell the renters they can live without their rent. You got to 80% of the people are still working. And so most people are still able to pay the rents and the mortgages. It's the people who've lost their jobs that are most at risk in this, and particularly people who lost jobs and don't have documentation. But if you get unemployment and you're getting $1,000 a week, assuming you're employed by the end of July, that should be an enormous help. But we're aware of this. We're trying to think of solutions. Some of our money is going into rent assistance, but the county doesn't have enough money to solve this problem by itself.
Thanks, sir. It is 8:01. I'm going to defer to you, County Exec, with closing statement. If you want to talk to the community about anything, maybe census related, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, please feel free to do so.
Okay, I'm going to take you, hint. I'm going to talk to you about census for a moment. And you did a good job, because if Diane were here, she would have done it. We need people to complete the census forms. And you're getting forms mailed to you. I think some people are getting forms on a regular basis mailed to them. We need folks to get these forms completed. It is absolutely essential for Montgomery County that the forms are completed, because that's the basis on which they decide a number of funding formulas that provide the county money for schools, healthcare, food programs. All the social programs that we run are largely funded based on our population, and including the ethnicity of our population. So we're counting on people to get counted. Might be a simple way of saying that. We need you to fill the forms out. You can go online and fill the forms out. You can even do it by phone. We're agnostic about how you do it. We just need you to please fill out the forms. And with that, I'll say, I look forward to working with people, and I look forward to getting past this crisis. We have a lot of work to do. We had a lot of work to do before the virus hit. That work is still there for us. There are still families that need assistance even without the coronavirus. There's economic development issues in the county that we have to tackle that we needed to tackle before the coronavirus. So all of this is, it's still real for us, and it's going to be all real when the virus goes away, and we're going to need to be prepared to move forward. So I want you to know that we're working not just on the present, but on the future. And if people have thoughts or ideas, please share them with us. We're all ears, and we need other perspectives than our own. And no time like this to get those other perspectives.
And thank you, County Executive. And if I may be so bold to add a few things, the census, the census is the application is online. There are multiple languages translated. Please go on there to complete the census. If you did not get an invite in your mailbox, you could still complete it. Just go on there, give them your address, and you can still complete it. If you cannot find a language that you can use on the website, you can call them. There's multiple language lines that's available for the community as well. The census is basically our lifeline right now. We are dealing with unprecedented pandemic, and the money, we need that money for recovery. And it is extremely important that everybody in the county complete the census. And, you know, if the other thing is, if we don't do it, then we're going to have to send people to your house to knock on the door. Not us, but the federal government is going to send people to your house to knock on your door. During a pandemic, that's not something you want. And a lot of our community members are terrified of government coming to their doors anyway. So please get the word out. Please make sure the community complete the census. And with that, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who has participated on tonight's call. We have recorded this call and we'll make it available to all the community leaders that are here tonight to distribute. Thank you so much. Please stay safe. Please wash your hands. Please do not touch your eyes. Diane was basically saying that before you touch your eyes, just pretend you just ate a crab with Old Bay seasoning and you're about to rub your eyes. Please don't do it until you've washed all the Old Bay off your hands. Thank you again. Please stay safe. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.